Welcome to another edition of Chocobo Chasers. As always, I'm G, and I'm joined by the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. But we have a very special guest today. Joining us is Arielle, a gaming journalist, freelance video editor for Windows Central Gaming. If you've followed Jez Corden, you've probably seen some of her videos that she's edited, as well as she is a Souls-like creator. Also was previously at Game Informer, which is, we actually had a whole entire episode kind of dedicated to the, I would say, dramatic fall of one of our favorite gaming publications. But let's go ahead and let's start the episode. So we normally actually start this off with a segment called What Are You Playing? But we're actually going to flip it a little bit here. Arielle, we're going to ask you, what are you playing this week?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's so many. Excuse me. So it's kind of interesting because there's two that I'm playing just for the pure enjoyment of it because I need games to relax, but also for work. I am currently going through and reviewing Mass Effect 1 right now. I've never played it before.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
I am just blown away that this game was able to accomplish this much during that time. Like, it makes me so happy just to see the evolution of gaming in such a short amount of time. Currently playing through Mass Effect 1 to review. I am about halfway through it, I want to say. I just met Garrus. Okay, Garrus, okay. I absolutely love Garrus.
You got incredible. A lot to go.
Yeah.
I'm got so excited.
You're kind of like maybe 30%, if that, you know?
Okay, good.
So that was just basically the beginning. So
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm thinking Garrus in 2. So no, yeah, you're only in the beginning.
Oh yeah, no, that's good to know because I'm in love with the game so far. It's really interesting. It's fascinating. The storyline, like, I really enjoy it. The other game that I'm in the process of reviewing right now is Monster Hunter Wilds, and I've never played a Monster Hunter game before, and this is my first dive into the series, so pretty happy about that. And the ones that I'm just playing for fun right now are Dark Souls Remastered. It is my comfort game, and I'm going through doing different videos for Bloodborne right now. I have like 4 trophies from platinuming it, so I'm in the process of going through that right now.
Heck yeah, that's quite the array for the week, and I'd say there's a lot of variety there. Also, having Dark Souls 1 as a comfort game, that's a choice because I probably spent more time on the dual boss in Dark Souls 1 than any other boss of any game. That Ornstein and Smaug fight.
Ornstein and Smaug.
Yeah. I love that boss. That was actually, so Dark Souls 1 was the very first Souls game I ever played. It was baptism by fire. So it was one of those experiences of where Smaug and Ornstein took me a week to battle. And when I got through that, I was like, I feel invincible now. Like, until I faced off with Ishin Sword Sage from Sekiro, then I felt very small again.
I think Sekiro is the only Souls-like game that ever made me stop playing. It was so hard.
I'm not a Souls game guy, and that was like my first foray into it. I was like, this is miserable.
You see, since it's the kind of content I do, I have to say, I don't know. Okay, I have to ask, why do you think Sekiro is a Souls-like? Because it's actually not Souls-like.
I never can account it.
I would say just because it's made from. That's in name only, and I think that may be why I had such trouble with it, because I have played all of the Dark Souls games, played Demon Souls, played Bloodborne, Elden Ring, and really enjoyed all of those games. Sekiro is just does not hit me with it. I don't know what it is.
Probably the lack of just a character customization, honestly. It's just like you're playing as a specific protagonist, so there's no room
not
for...
Not only that, in the skill tree, too. There's no skill tree in other Souls-likes. It's just, I wish there were a skill tree in other Souls-likes.
Yeah, it's just a whole different experience. But anywho, so this week in gaming, we're going to actually have a bit of a different discussion today, because with our guests, we're going to talk what we normally talk about. And so the first thing that we want to talk about is split fiction. So I don't know, Arielle, if you've had a chance to play Split Fiction yet, but it actually has hit 1 million players in 48 hours, which is a record for Hazelight Studios. It Takes Two, fantastic game. And I have loved, and we've talked about it here on the show, that there's been like a kind of loss of like split screen gaming, and I feel like Hazelight has kind of done what they can to bring us back to that. Did you play It Takes Two? And if so, did you enjoy it?
I have not played it. No, it wasn't my kind of game whenever it first came out, and I was reviewing so many different titles, and I was just like, you know what, this one's going to the back burner just for a little bit. But I really want to play Split Fiction at some point, because as someone who writes literally every single day, and I've published short stories, I've, you know, done anthologies and everything, it is such a creative way to go about building a world. Like, I love how they did the split screen with the game The Medium. That was really interesting. I love the way that they made like both worlds kind of conjoined into one. But Split Fiction is like, here, let's take one friend, let's take another one, and sploosh everything together. That way you kind of have to, it's a battle of the writing wits, if you will. So I think that was really intriguing.
Yeah. No, and a game that we're all kind of looking forward to playing. We all haven't had a chance to dive in quite yet, but the idea also that you could just buy one copy of the game, and then literally like you could just have another person join. It's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah.
Additionally, so you're diving into Mass Effect for the very first time. So, and as I mentioned, you used to work for Game Informer, rip again to one of our favorite publications.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, were you a large Game Informer fan prior to working for them? And if so, what is your favorite cover of all Game Informer? This was a discussion we had on the show. Obviously, there's so many to choose from.
I have to say the Dark Souls 3 cover.
Okay.
Like, I can't not go with it. It just looks so epic. Like it's just so good. Like, it just hits all the right artistic points for me. I mean, I love that one. I love the recent one that they did for Final Fantasy Rebirth. That was absolutely beautiful, the way that was constructed.
Absolutely.
I loved the Avatar one that they did as well, but Dark Souls 3 is still my favorite one. What was it? There was a part that I was editing. I did 2 videos for that company, and it was the interview with Ubisoft Bordeaux and the the Assassin's Creed Mirage review. And that was probably one of the most interesting videos I ever edited, because there were so many different ways that you could play Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I didn't play it yet. Whenever I went in to do that video, I was like, oh, okay, this will be interesting to see some of the footage. They added so much from Valhalla, but they also made it shorter and sweeter to the point, unlike Valhalla. That way they could have more people's attention. Like, Valhalla was my first Assassin's Creed game, so for me that was a lot. I needed a break after that.
Yeah, that's quite a game to start a franchise with. Like,
and I feel like you don't get the root of the franchise with Valhalla as much, because I feel like Assassin's Creed kind of lost its identity once you start getting into those later games.
Right.
It was one of those things of where, like, I feel like it really solidified itself with Black Flag, and I haven't played Black Flag yet. You know, I just heard that it is one of the most iconic Assassin's Creed games to ever exist.
It is, and it almost is the beginning of when Assassin's Creed kind of started to delineate itself from being this stealth action game into, and Mirage really kind of harkened back to a lot of what made Assassin's Creed, I think, initially. But yeah, Black Flag, a fantastic game in its own right, but it is kind of it's the Resident Evil 6 of the series, or Resident Evil 5, I guess, and Resident Evil 6 was a bad comparison, because the 6
is an awful game.
Not looked on very fondly.
Black Flag is a good game that just, it has sea shanties. All right, that's all we need.
I would think Resident Evil 4 would be more the best comparison.
Yeah, that's probably the better comparison.
It can be considered a peak, but also it's where it started to kind of take on a new identity or form. I would say,
in some fans' opinion, it kind of lost its way at that point, but it is a fantastic game regardless. It is definitely a game you should play, and it goes on sale for, pennies, I feel like. most of the time. So there's no reason not to play it at this point.
No, absolutely. I think I actually have Black Flag on Steam. I'll have to double check. But no, I think the thing is like with Valhalla, it covered so many different points of interest for me as someone who loves Norse mythology. So whenever I went into that game and you saw Eivor and you saw the way that the entire battle went between different events, it was just, I don't know, I absolutely loved it. I feel like the story fell off in the middle, and then it took almost half, like I think another 20 hours to get back to the main story. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's a really long game, which was something that wasn't really the case in those early games as well. Which it's just a totally separate game, and it's really Assassin's Creed only in name at that point. I do have to ask. So another bit of news that we got, and I think this was actually something that came just today. So Fallout is filming season 2. Have you watched Fallout season 1?
I have. I love the show so much.
Okay. Did you play the games prior?
Oh gosh. Okay, so this is interesting. I have a love-hate relationship with those games.
Okay.
I cannot stand number 3 purely because of a lot of the racism and a lot of the stuff that's in it. It's just story-wise, it's just like, oh, okay, playing this game in 2019 and having that be my first Fallout experience was unique, to say the least. Then I played Fallout 4 for a little bit. Didn't like all the bugs and everything I was experiencing, so dropped off from it. Played Vegas. Didn't like it at first, but then went back to it and fell in love with it. New Vegas is probably my favorite Fallout installments that they've done, purely because of how good the story is.
Well, you'll probably be pleased to hear then that sounds like we're going to New Vegas for season 2. So
let's go. I'm ready. It was so amazing to see not only Chandler Bing, rest in peace, be one of the voices in that game. I really hope they pay homage to his character in the show, because that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. That is, I feel like Fallout is also a series that we've seen so many like stars, and not even necessarily stars that we recognize in gaming, but stars that would, typically be in television or film, get, even just small little roles, like, and it's maybe just like, hey, my kid loves Fallout, I really wanted to be in this game. It's just something I feel like we see quite a bit more. Eric, I know that you had wanted to ask a bit more about some of more recent games, though.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, what has been your favorite game this year? And then what is your most anticipated game to come out for the rest of the year?
Anticipated Death Stranding 2, hands down. I'm sorry, I just saw the trailer for the first time yesterday on stream with my community. Can we just talk about seriously how they pull at the heartstrings with this one? The songs in that trailer, I'm not ready. I'm ready, but I'm also not ready. The game that I'm most looking forward to this year. Okay, now looking forward to, what was the other one? Because I got so stuck on Death Stranding.
What's the one you've liked so far this year?
This year, Silent Hill 2 remake. Yeah, I loved it. It was incredible. The way that the psychological horror
painting right there.
It was so good. It was so good. I got a physical copy for it. That's how good it was. Like, it's one of those titles of where okay, so I don't tell a lot of people this because I'm not like, oh, I have this degree in this, but I actually I have a degree in psychology. So for me, this game and being able to do a review on this was one, besides Death Stranding, it was one of the reviews I worked the hardest on, and I loved playing every single moment of this. I was kind of a bit trepidatious to a degree going into the game because just Bulber Team's history and the way that they didn't utilize mental health in the correct way with the medium and some of the stuff that went on in Layers of Fear, seeing them come back full force and be like, no, we're going to show people that we are a studio worthy of being watched, and they did that, and I'm really just proud of them.
It was so good.
How excited are you for the upcoming Silent Hill transmission, where we're going to be getting more information on Silent Hill F?
I am like a kid again, and that was actually something I broke down with my community of where, you notice how the F is kind of like in a slant, it's all fancy and everything. It's actually the side in piano for forte, strong yet soft. So there's going to be strength in this game, yet like a softness about it, I feel.
Love it.
Yeah.
I welcome the return to form for Silent Hill.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, listen, if they bring back even PT Silent Hills as like a demo again, I'm going to break down because I never got to play that, and I would love to play that. Please, Konami, do that.
I'm pretty sure I still got that on my PS4 now that I think about it.
Your PS4 is worth millions at this
I
point.
was gonna say, it's worth a lot of money now. Well, and if rumors are to be believed, we know that Bloober is working on a new title with Konami, and if we put the puzzle pieces together, it's going to be another Silent Hill. So now it's just what remake are they going to be working on next? Is it going to be 1? Is it going to be 3?
I honestly don't think they're going to touch 1 for years. I really don't. I think that it's going to be 3 because 3 is kind of like the Resident Evil 4 of the series. It's a very popular one, and it's one that kind of people are more gravitated to purely because of how linear the story is and how complex the story is, but more graspable. That's not even a word, but it's more grasping for people because of just how there's a lot more body horror in it, coinciding with a lot more psychological horror. So people were trying to read more so between the lines with Silent Hill 2. With Silent Hill 3, it was all right there in front of everyone, showcasing just how gruesome the mind can be. And I feel like with Silent Hill 1, so many people are going to have a shit fit if they see that that's going to be rated. It's like the Resident Evil 1 of that franchise.
And that one also may be made very, very soon.
I'm
rumors are
going
to be able to...
I'm not going to be happy about that.
I have a love, and like that's a hard thing. So Resident Evil is my favorite franchise of all time. I have loved the remakes, even 3. I know that a lot of people were really upset with the cut content, but just as somebody who didn't get to play 3 originally, it was a great kind of experience for me to get to experience for the first time. And I have since played the original 3, so I can kind of understand where people are coming from now. But the 2, 3, 4 remakes, I mean, they're fantastic. And it's really brought us back into that survival horror that was, obviously so missing from, 5, kept it a tiny bit, and then 6 just threw it out the window. We're full on action game now. And 2, 3, 4 really...
Duty, but make it Resident Evil.
Yeah, exactly. And so, now... I would love to see like a modern Resident Evil 1 with the mechanics that we've introduced, but 1 is also so iconic, and I imagine that if they redo it, they're going to remove, the camera angles. They're going to remove a lot of the things that kind of made Resident Evil 1. So that's a hard conversation. Like,
well, the thing is like the only justifiable reason for me, in my opinion, is that accessibility would be added, which we don't currently have with a lot of the Resident Evil, the earlier Resident Evil games. I know 1 had tank controls. A lot of people don't like tank controls. I grew up with them, so for me, and Resident Evil 1, I mean, as a more of kind of like a selfish thing, Resident Evil 1 Remake was the very first game I ever played. So it was more of a just no, don't touch it. It's cute, it's bubbly, she's sweet, she's demure, leave her alone.
And it still plays really well. Like the remake it still looks great. So
absolutely.
It's obviously going to sell very well if they do. So from a business standpoint, like it would make sense for Capcom. But from a Resident Evil fan standpoint, it would probably make more sense to either do 0 or Code Veronica.
Absolutely.
Or, if they want to redo 5 and make it a bit more like horror-esque, that would also make sense.
Absolutely. Your dog's agreeing with you, by the way.
Yeah, they're very excited. So,
what
Code
I think would be
Veronica, the one that started on the ship?
That's Revelations, I think.
Revelations. Revelations 1, I think?
Oh, there's more than one?
Yeah, there's 1.
Revelation 1 and 2. We don't talk about 1. Sorry.
It was a 3DS game. I mean, it was just there.
And then they ported it over and thought console would be a great idea. I'm just, okay, that's great. Sure, sounds good. And one thing I think it would make a great year and so incredibly iconic is imagine if they did a Bloodborne remaster for PC and PS5, a Resident Evil 1 remake, and Code Veronica all in the same year. That's Valhalla. Okay, that is absolute heaven for gamers.
I mean, I'll keep pounding the table for Bloodborne remake.
I have almost 500 hours in that game. I need it.
Holy cow! So we've talked about it on the show. I personally think that they're going to pull a Demon Souls, and I think that they're going to remaster Bloodborne as a PlayStation 6 launch title. I think it'll be something to help them sell consoles. Not that they'll necessarily need help, but I think that it's just... I think that there is obviously enough interest in the game for them to go ahead. I mean, because Bloodborne still pops up on like PlayStation 4 top selling games every month. I don't see any reason that doesn't happen. Obviously, you have to get all of the right parties involved. That being said, you know, when they redid Demon Souls, it wasn't necessarily like a complete FromSoft. Like, obviously the Blue Point is the one who remade the game, so I do wonder if they potentially put it in their hands and say, you know, this is our baby. Like, we really need you to take care of this, and we really need you to...
You know, they did an amazing job with it. But I feel like there was an interview with, I think, a former coworker of Miyazaki's who said that Bloodborne is so precious to, and I'm paraphrasing him, by the way, but it's so precious to Miyazaki that he doesn't want anyone else to basically touch it. Like, he wants to have the right people on there. He wants to be able to do the game justice, because that's literally his baby. So, you know, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, that game is absolutely incredible. Like, the way that you have like quantum mechanics mixed in with this Victorian literature and lore. It's just, it's outstanding the way that they were able to make something so meaningful and something so gruesome at the same time.
At least just give us a 60 frame patch. Like, there's I don't know.
I would love that.
So again, in gaming news, as of right now, The Last of Us 3, I think that there was a lot of hope for this to potentially see the light of day. We had The Last of Us Online get canceled very publicly a few months ago. Last of Us 1, I obviously big fan. The Last of Us 2, I think it still holds the record for the most Game of the Year awards by any title ever. But it's pretty divisive among fans. Don't ever go into The Last of Us 2 Reddit if you're a gamer. It's a really terrible
Reddit
place.
is just a cesspool for gamers.
It is just a bad place.
Last of Us 2 circle jerks even.
Yeah, it's the worst. As bad as you think it is, it's a whole another level worse.
Now we're about to get the second season here soon
the show.
I'm so ready. I didn't like the first episode of the first season, but I got more into it and thought, ooh, this is interesting. I like the way the clickers done fantastically. Like, they brought to life something I never thought could be brought to life in a video game. And also Team Abby, by the way.
I cannot believe that you just said that, but I understand, and that was the whole reason behind the way that number 2 is structured. I understand. I gotta ride with my girl Ellie for all time.
No, how could you?
But,
oh God.
but I get it. I 100% understand.
The reason why, if you don't mind me saying, the reason why I'm Team Abby is because, not because she killed Joel. That was a whole level of heartbreak that I was not ready for.
An hour into the game, too.
How dare Neil Druckmann? How dare he? It's just like, I remember even who was it? His name is escaping me right now, but the voice of Joel was even saying Troy Baker. Even he was in not an interview. It was like behind the scenes of Last of Us 2. He was like, or we could just not kill him, you know. Like, you have that choice. No, but I think the biggest reason why I'm Team Abby is because Ellie, of her own volition, turned into the thing that she hates the most. So she left her family. She left, Dana. She left all of the people that she cared about, all because she's like, no, I am out for revenge. I am going to let it destroy me, even if it destroys everything around me. And I'm just like, girl, what are you doing?
She's got that tunnel vision.
I do love how like both games have managed to have like these hotly debated topics. Like, you know, the ending of Last of Us 1 is still debated to this day about, you know, what's morally right, what's not, kind of thing.
I think it ended the way it was supposed to, though. Like, I don't think there is, in my opinion, I don't think there's a need for a third game, but also I still don't want to see people crapping on one another in the timeline anymore.
Yeah.
That's just gaming Twitter now, which I'm off of Twitter, thankfully. So
yeah, it's why like I'm very picky, choosy about the time I spend on Twitter.
Yeah, it's a rough place sometimes.
Yeah.
Dash, was there any questions I guess that you had that you wanted to ask? I know that we're coming up on time here a little bit, but
I mean, I think it kind of fits in the theme what we've been talking to about like games that kind of just might be divisive in the month's fan base, and with you being such a big Soulsborne content creator fan, this is honestly going to be a great one to talk about since you you actually did have the review for Night Rain, so.
Yeah. Okay. So I was part of the network test for Night Rain, and I'm kind of in this middle place with it of where am I absolutely going to cover it when it releases? Absolutely. I'm going to, play the heck out of it. I'm going to get it for Steam. It's going to be my baby. But I do have some choice words for the way that they developed it. It's kind of like the Dark Souls 2 of this Elden Ring journey that we're on, so to speak. So I'm very much afraid that it is going to lose the soul of what makes Elden Ring Elden Ring.
Yep.
And when I say that, I don't mean in like story or lore, anything. I don't want Elden Ring to turn into Fortnite. And I know that's been said before by my colleagues. I know it's been said before by many people, but I don't want it to turn into this thing of where it kind of loses the essence. And there were bosses in there that were even way easier to fight than the usual ones. There were places of where and I think this is just because it was a network test, people just wanted to explore, and I get it, that's perfectly fine, but other people weren't reviving others, and people were just being very selfish with their time when you need to work as a team, especially if you were doing co-op with people in Elden Ring and Bloodborne and a lot of Souls and Souls-likes. You need to work as a team in order to get the end result that's desired. It's kind of like this one story that I heard about why Miyazaki created Demon Souls to begin with, of where okay, I'm going to paraphrase, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, of where he got into a car accident and his car was being pushed by another car up the hill so he could make it to safety. He never got to thank the person who got to help him, and it's kind of like the average Souls experience. You never get to thank the person who you're hanging out with or who's helping you along the way, but they helped you. And that was my experience with Orphan of Cause. That person pushed me to be the best player that I could be, so I beat Orphan of Cause on my own, and I went back and I was like, thank you so much for showing me the ropes and how did you do this stuff and everything. And people want to yuck on all the stuff that Souls and Souls-like games are, when in reality it's about community. That's exactly the same thing it is, but I don't want that community to get turned into something kind of manipulated away from the core values of what Elden Ring and all the Souls games have so nurtured over the years.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing I've seen where it's just people are saying, how is this going to affect Elden Ring's legacy? Or, this feels like a shameless cash grab. I played it, I did the network test myself. It was fun. I enjoyed it for what it was, but, it's kind of like, is this really what we should begin as a game? This would be awesome if it was a mod, but now that it has a $40 price tag attached to it, it's kind of like you're questioning the purpose of it. But I am kind of curious what kind of returning bosses we are going to see, because we got the Centipede Demon, and in the trailer we know the Nameless King is going to be involved at some point, so I'm maybe hoping for some sort of Bloodborne kind of throw into, because why not?
At this point, I will accept anything from Daddy Miyazaki. It's one of those things of where the Nameless King is still one of the bosses I have yet to beat in Dark Souls 3.
Oh.
I haven't gone up against him yet. I've heard he's a difficult boss. I'm ready. I don't know if it's Sekiro difficult, but I'm willing to place money on the fact that it's still pretty difficult.
Well, I think that's a perfect spot for us to go ahead and cap it off here. Arielle, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today. Yeah. Obviously, we had some guests with my puppies joining us for a little bit. Jojo joined Dash here for a little bit. It's been an animal house, but it's also just been fun talking games. So again, want to thank you so much for your time. We'll be sure to go ahead and share your socials so we can make sure everybody's following you, seeing what is going on Windows Central Gaming, so that when you're posting, everybody knows it's you.
Awesome.
And anything else you want to shout out just before we go ahead and close out?
May your coffee treat you well and life give you a nat 20. Always,
That's a great way to look at it. Perfect. Well, I will go ahead. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me on. It was really awesome to get that email from you, and it was just such a welcome email. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody loves G's emails.
Yeah, we've gotten that so many times with different interviews.
Oh, yay.
Awesome. Well, that is a perfect spot for us to go ahead and cap this off. We hope everybody enjoyed this interview. Be sure to go ahead and follow Arielle, and we'll be staying tuned for some Death Stranding content from you here coming up in the next few months.
Yeah. Oh, God, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, everybody. We'll catch y'all next time.
Have a good one.